So welcome to WordPress Accessibility Meetup, live website remediation with Amber Hines, CEO of Equalize Digital. That's me. And our phenomenal guest today will be Brian Coords, who is a developer advocate at WooCommerce or Automatic.
Yep.
A few announcements before we get started. You can find us on Facebook if you want to connect between meetups. If you go to facebook.com/groups/WordPress.accessibility, or you just search for WordPress accessibility on Facebook. This is a great place to share what you're working on, ask questions, help other folks, get plugin recommendations, anything related to accessibility you can chat about in the group in between meetups. Everyone always asks, is this being recorded? And the answer is yes, it is being recorded. It takes about 2 weeks for us to get our corrected captions and transcript, and then we will have the video up on YouTube and on our website. You can find both upcoming events and past recordings in one place if you go to equalizedigital.com/meetup. You can join our email list as well to get notified when the recording is available. And we send a weekly email newsletter that includes links to all kinds of resources around the web. If you go to equalizedigital.com/focus-state, that is how you can sign up for that. The other place where this does get released is in the audio format on our podcast, which can be found at accessibilitycraft.com. A quick note that we are seeking a few additional sponsors for the meetup. We are part of the official meetup program, but there is no budget from the WordPress Community Foundation to be able to pay for captions and transcriptions and all the things that we do to make sure that this is accessible for everyone. So if you or your company would be interested in sponsoring, please contact us. You can contact myself and my co-organizer, Paula, if you email meetup@equalizedigital.com. This is the same email address to use if you have any other suggestions for the meetup or you need additional accommodations. If you're interested in speaking or you want us to try and find a speaker about a specific topic, you can email us and let us know. So who are we? As I mentioned, I'm Amber Hines. I'm the CEO of a company called Equalize Digital. We are the organizers of this meetup. We are a mission-driven organization and a corporate member of the International Association of Accessibility Professionals focused on WordPress accessibility. We have a WordPress plugin called Accessibility Checker that helps you find and fix problems on your website. And we also offer online courses for NVDA and voiceover screen reader testing, as well as selling accessibility. We do accessibility audits, remediation, and consulting. We do have a sponsor for this meetup, and that is GoDaddy. GoDaddy's mission is to empower a worldwide community of entrepreneurs by giving them all the help and tools they need to grow online, including a simpler, safer WordPress experience. GoDaddy provides a managed WordPress experience that is as easy as it is effective. The latest version of WordPress comes pre-installed with exclusive themes, plugins, and tools to get you up and running quickly with automated backups, updates, and malware removal so that pros can spend less time on monotonous maintenance and more time building their businesses. You can learn more about GoDaddy if you go to godaddy.com. We always encourage folks, if you are willing, on whatever social media platform you are on, to just give GoDaddy a shout out and say thank you for sponsoring captions and transcripts for WordPress Accessibility Meetup. It helps to let them know that one, I did what I said I would do for their sponsorship, but two, also that it matters and that people find it valuable to have a professional captioner at these meetups. So if you are willing to do that wherever you are, they're probably on just about every social platform. You could tag them and say thank you. We would appreciate that. The next upcoming events that you should be aware of, the first one is making digital documents accessible, practical steps for inclusive design, and that will be presented by Samantha Merritt, who works at the Justice Department in the UK. So she's a government employee in UK, and she'll be talking about digital documents like PDFs and other documents that you might add to your website, which also need to be accessible. We will be starting our meetups on Tuesdays with this presentation. So this will be on Tuesday, February 17th at 10 a.m. Central. Our Tuesday meetups are going to be 30 minutes shorter. They will just be an hour. So that is a new thing that we're starting, and we're very excited to have her as our first Tuesday presenter. And then this same time slot next month on Thursday, March 5th at 10 a.m. Central, I will be presenting how to audit a web page behind the scenes on Equalize Digital's process, because a lot of people asked at our last meetup if I would present on that. So I am going to put together a presentation for y'all. I am going to stop sharing for just 1 second, only because I want to have a nice view up here of Brian so that Brian can introduce himself, and then we'll kind of talk about what we're going to do.
Yeah, so I am Brian Coords. I'm a developer advocate. I work at WooCommerce or Automatic as the kind of larger parent company. And I actually just hit the end of my first year there. So I'm relatively new to WooCommerce, but before that, I spent like a decade in the WordPress agency space building websites for people. So I have kind of a broader WordPress background and a little bit of a WooCommerce background as well.
Well, welcome. I am so glad to have you here and willing to come back. And we did share the part one where we started working on your website, and I thought it might be interesting before we dive in and do some more work on it to just look back on that real quick. Let me see if I can reshare my screen. So this is, hopefully you can see. Yeah. This is the YouTube video from last time. And where we were, there was like a bunch of empty links and linked images that were missing alternative text, which were kind of the same, and some possible headings and things like that. And those were a lot of what we focused on, as well as structure. So if anyone is interested in this, you can find this video and watch it to get where we started there as well. And then now all those empty links are gone, which I thought was kind of cool. Big, awesome fix. So one thing we're going to do a little bit differently this time, because I did want to demo a few screen reader testing things. So I'm going to share for a minute, show some problems. Then we're going to let Brian take over sharing, and he's going to talk about how to fix them. And if you have questions, I am going to try and watch the chat. I am notoriously bad at watching the chat while I am talking, but I should be able to watch the chat while Brian is talking, and I can pass your questions along to them, to him. So where I wanted to start first was color contrast. And one of the interesting things you might note if you're looking at this current list of open issues is that there aren't actually any color contrast issues being flagged on this website by Accessibility Checker. And I want to highlight that, not to be like my tool sucks, right? Because most automated tools won't see all problems, and there are some things that you still have to test manually. And one of those is color contrast, and Wave and Axe also don't see some of the issues that that we're going to talk about today. So like they aren't found by automated tools. I think already, Brian, it's awesome that it couldn't find any of that. So it means I'm guessing you put some thought into colors already.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely tried to get it, and then I used the Ollie block theme, and it has like a pretty
Mhm.
good color palette system where you there's like eight or so colors, and you're supposed to know which ones get like work together and stuff. So when you fill out the colors, it's supposed to help you pick colors that are always going to pair together nicely.
hmm Yeah, so I think like in general, it looks really good and it's super readable. But where the automated testing tools sometimes don't always catch is hover states,
Hmm.
or if there's different states for different users, which I'll show an example
Yeah.
of in just a second. And I realize I shared my screen wrong because I only shared my window, but I got to share my whole desktop. So give me 1 second. Uh, Retrying. All right. So, um, So a thing I noticed, actually, let me just do something funky here. I'm going to go to like a page that doesn't exist. So I just typed a random string on the end so I could get a 404 page, and your search button looks good, but when I hover over it, it doesn't. The text, it's like a dark like that. And then um, when I tab into this input field, I get the focus indicator is a very light green ring
Mm,
around. And so that's an example of a UI component color contrast, which doesn't have to be the exact same, but it does need to still have some contrast because a low vision user might not be able to tell that their focus was in there. And also the placeholder text is super light on here. So there is a free tool and maybe oh wait, I can pop the link in here in the chat in case anybody wants it that I really like from TPGI that is actually a desktop application. And I'll be honest, this is how I check color contrast in Figma files. uh, but it opens up and it gives you just color pickers. So I've got my background color in white. I could take this picker if I didn't know how to inspect this, and I could just get like, this is my placeholder text, F5, 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 which fails that. And then if I sometimes you can get your focus indicator. Let's see if it will go away now that okay. So now I've clicked into the field, so the focus indicator is visible, and I could use this to color pick my focus indicator. So it doesn't really matter when it's a ring about the contrast minimum or contrast enhanced. What matters is the non-text contrast where it's failing for UI components. So there was that. And then so I think there's these two things that we'll want to fix. And then the other thing that I noted, and I thought this was really interesting, I've never seen it before. I'm going to zoom in on the website and I'm logged in right now. Oh, okay, wait. So now, now I'm getting a different button. I have in a few instances, maybe it's on the homepage. Nope. I don't know. A few instances, I've seen this mobile nav as white when I'm logged in. Have you ever seen
yeah.
it that way?
Um,
Or is
I don't,
that just me?
I've been trying to replicate it since you said it and I haven't found it, but I feel like that's what it was originally, so I'm not
So
sure.
maybe at one point the styles weren't loading for me and I was getting like an old style or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a similar situation where it's gonna fail for UI contrast. Um,
Okay.
and sometimes you can get the colors, just if I click on this in the browser, I've opened DevTools, I've clicked on the little color preview, which opens,
Hmm.
it won't give me a contrast here. So you could also do this similar thing. If I open the drop down and I use my color picker, I could go pick it and say test against the
Oh,
background.
I didn't know about that.
So it'll give you a ratio. What's not great about this browser ratio picker, and this is just built into Chrome, is that it doesn't tell you UI component, which is kind of why I like the contrast analyzer desktop tool. So if I do foreground is this color and background is this color. So I just this open and closed toggle on the mobile is really low contrast. Um, and then when you're logged in, and I'm guessing you don't have any visitors log in. It's only you typically.
Yeah, that's why I've kind of ignored the weird thing it does where it puts your email address in there.
In
You
the
can't read it.
Jetpack subscribe and you can't read
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
If you had people logging in, you'd probably want to fix the contrast on that too.
Yeah.
Because it's barely legible. But so those are my color contrast things that I've noted. I'm gonna let you take over and maybe show us how we might fix some of these things.
Yeah. So let's pull it open. And okay, so here I'm like logged in. Is this a good screen size?
It seems okay to me.
Okay. I might shrink it a little bit. Okay. So this site uses the block editor, so everything design-wise happens in the block editor. Sometimes you have to get in there with some CSS. That's just the way it is sometimes, but hopefully we won't. So where should we start? Should we start with that search form, maybe?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I use the Command K palette a lot when I'm searching for things. I find it makes it easier. So I'm gonna
And
load up. Oh, go
this
ahead.
is built into WordPress now. What you just
Yeah,
did, you hit Command K and it opened the search form.
yeah, and you can use it anywhere in the back end of WordPress, like not even in the site editor, just in WordPress. So if you're using a block theme, it's nice because it makes it easy to jump from like one template to another or different setting screens or something. Like you can use it for like adding a new post. Like I can say add post and I can jump straight to that. So there's a lot of kind of cool features of it.
That's cool.
Um, so this is the search form. This is a WordPress core block, the search block. Um, and it comes with some basic options. Let's see. You can do an icon. You can do a form label, um, which I'm wondering, did you get anything about the label not having text or anything like that?
So even when you have the label hidden with the core block, it still is labeled for screen reader users.
Okay.
Normally, you always want a visible label on fields, but the search form is the one instance where this could be considered still a pass because you're a button. It's one field connected with a button and it has the word search on the button. It's
Yeah.
better. Like I would recommend having like
A
a
label
visible
and
label,
what
but
would you
it,
the like search or something like that? Or
yeah,
would
or
it be more
yeah, like it could be like site search or something like that. And placeholder text, honestly, too, isn't supposed to label it. It would be more like
like
so
instructions or
not a
something?
yeah, like keyword, episode, topic, right? Like yeah, it's supposed to be instructions. So you might suggest what someone
Can you
might
change? Oh,
put in there, right? Like
yeah.
guest name, episodes, like comment or something.
So I didn't even know I could change that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so then this one has a few color options, but it's all one block. So the button and the input field, I think use all the same color, but there's some additional hover options, which is pretty nice. I don't know.
Wait a
I don't
minute. Did that come from Core? I never knew you could do that in Core. I thought Core didn't support hover styles.
I think it's something added by Ollie. I think so. Like
Your
he
theme.
adds a lot. Yeah, the theme, the Ollie theme, and there's also a plugin that goes with it, adds a lot of stuff that's kind of extra. So that's one difference of this. It's not like a full page builder on top of the block editor, but it definitely adds a few of those things that you might want, like animations and additional style changes and things like that. So I'm not actually. I think that the hover is not.
That's
So.
not Core, right?
Yeah. So we would need a
Jewel
better.
asked,
Oh, good.
sorry, Jewel asked, are you using Ollie Pro or the free version?
Pro. It is the pro version.
So we're not certain where this is coming from, whether it's free or pro,
I'm
or
pretty sure if
I
it's
don't think
coming
it's
from Ollie.
Core, right?
No, I'm pretty sure it's coming from Ollie Pro. But
Okay.
I find it's pretty worth it if you're gonna go with the block editor. It's kind of the only way I've enjoyed it is to use Ollie.
Yeah, because normally without this setting, you'd have to go write CSS in order to fix the hover styles on this button.
Yeah. So I think if I do the hover text, like, so as you could tell, I don't have a lot of colors. That's been my main issue here is that I don't really have or need a lot of colors. I don't have like a full brand for this. It's literally just I spun up the website and I used a couple basic colors. So um, I basically go through and kind of just use the same colors for things. But if I do the hover text, yeah, oops, that didn't seem to change anything, right?
Mm-mm.
I'm just curious if any of these, just out of curiosity. Oh, it changes the whole
Oh,
thing.
it's not doing it for the button.
Yeah. Does that change?
So this Might end up
So it
needing to
might
be a
not,
CSS fix,
yeah,
huh?
I'll probably have to do this with CSS. I'm just gonna save it and just see on the front end that if it changes anything.
And we are doing this live, everybody. So if you go to
Yeah.
webmasters.fm, you can see this. Did it change the hover on the actual label? That's what I'm wondering if that's what that's getting. Like if you hovered over the label, oh, but it's the same color, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, the border. What if I changed it to just to see if it does anything? Yeah, so I don't know what he, yeah, so it doesn't seem to be adding anything.
Helping.
And like I said, this one's kind of a weird block because it's got buttons and things inside. So like this, I'll probably file an issue for Ollie and just let them know, hey, you added these, but they don't actually affect what you think they would affect. Um, but yeah, I can actually just do it as CSS. So like, should I do like a white text for this on hover, or what would you do? Because I'm not a designer, so
I mean, I kind of like the green, but yeah, you could do a white text.
oh yeah, like the green is a pretty good background, right?
Well, I just meant you could keep the you could only change the text color and keep the it goes to a black background and just make the text either
Oh, okay,
white or like your bright green would contrast with it fine.
okay, yeah. So
Yes.
let me. I'll put
Abigail said
my.
could just be black with white text, so you could flip it to like a whiter text.
So if
So
I.
I'm used to classic themes where you have like a CSS in the customizer. Do you have that in this theme?
Yeah. So I'll show you where we put the custom CSS. It works pretty decently. So I need. This is the button class, right? We just need this WP block
D-
search button.
And so you've inspected in DevTools, found the class, and copied it.
Yeah. So in here, I hit the styles tab, and then under this little drop down, there's a little CSS panel.
Hmm.
So I'll make a little CSS for it. And what's nice about this is I think we said that the search form is on other pages of the site. So if we do it with CSS, then I don't have to go to like the search page or anything.
It'll get it anytime you've used this specific block.
Yeah. And then I just need to find that green color. So I'm going to inspect this one up here and just get the color from it. Actually, what I want is this whole line right here. So I'll put that in. There we go. So I've
Cool.
added a little background color. I like using the CSS variables because then if I change my color palette later, it'll like change it automatically. I mean, it might not be perfect, but it'll at least match. But yeah, that looks good.
Hmm. So CSS, I'm guessing, is how you'd need to fix the focus indicator also.
Yes. So, and the placeholder text, which is so faint. So let's
You can't
see.
even see it on your screen share. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, you're clicked in there. That's why you can't see the placeholder text, which is
No, it's
exactly why placeholder text is not. Oh, no, it is still there.
so let's get a class for the input. Oops. Oop. Okay, so we need to do the focus indicator, which is that this outline color?
Hmm.
Okay. So should I use, so this is the bright
So,
green, but
so this is an interesting thing that Jewel said, doesn't the focus color have to have a 4.5 contrast ratio between the surrounding background and the input box? So it doesn't have to be 4 to 5 because it's a UI component. I think the higher contrast, I could be wrong, but the higher contrast I think is only on the AAA requirement. But an interesting thing about this, and I'd almost be curious to have you go toggle this fix on in Accessibility Checker. In Accessibility Checker, one of the things that we do is we actually remove outline color and we allow the browser to set it because if you tab through other items on your page, you'll notice
Hmm.
you have it's like a double blue and white, like your
Oh, like
nav. If you tab on some of those, uh,
yeah,
do you see you're down in the footer right now? Do you see that?
yeah.
It's like both blue and white, and that allows it to contrast on both dark and light.
Oh,
So I'd be curious if you turned on the fix in accessibility checker, if it would fix this for I'm not sure how, like if it would remove
like
the custom green color and just allow the focus on this input to match default browser focus, which is what your other items have.
yeah. So I think I can do. I think is
Or
it
you could like
unset?
unset.
Let's see.
Did it work? It's also, is it inset?
Oh, it's just not
You have to
specific
give it an
enough.
important.
It's yeah,
Yeah, or maybe you want to do it on all inputs because we saw the same thing on in the nav mobile nav menu.
yeah. So this is coming from Ollie. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this
CSS selector
and
from Ollie. Hmm.
yeah, that handles input and text area where they set it. I don't think I need the important, but I'm gonna do it anyway, just in case. I'll save that. Okay, now if we reload, so now it just does the
There.
default. Is that better? It's like a white and a black, it looks like.
Yeah, and if tab past it for a sec. Yeah. Yeah, it's not making it the blue, but I think that is fine because it still has a clear outline between the gray background and the input, which is going to allow you to see the difference on the focus indicator
Okay.
and between both the input and the background. So, yeah.
Okay. So that looks better.
Hmm. So then the
And
other
then
things were that mobile
and well, let me
toggles.
get the placeholder text too, because that was
Oh,
really
yeah, you're right.
and that's it's been I haven't been writing CSS in a while. That's like a element or something, right?
Yeah, I also don't do this enough. I would Google it. We might have a smart person here in the chat who can be like, here's how you target placeholder text. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, double colon placeholder, I think would
Okay.
do it. Thanks, Jonathan.
So we'll try it.
So this is one where I'd argue it might be better to do it on all inputs instead of just the search block.
Yeah. So
Because
just
I'm wondering um if like that style, which I'm guessing is coming from Ollie somewhere, is global, that it might impact, I don't know, if you were to have placeholder text on a contact form or something.
yeah, because I do have a contact form. I think it's
Does that, but no placeholder text.
and the contact form is Jetpack, which actually does a pretty good job of giving you a lot of color pickers for a lot of things.
Mm,
But yeah, let's just do input placeholder. What color should we do?
maybe like 333 or something. I kind of like it to be pretty dark.
Yeah.
I on text and on forms, I'd be like, if you can meet AAA contrast, I think it's worth it because the forms are the most important things.
Oh yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
So I love this because it's like, look, we just fixed something that's really important. But the sad thing when you fix things that aren't caught by automated tools is you don't get some sort of like instant gratification of I made my score better.
Yeah.
But very important to
But
fix things that automated tools can't find.
and it should be good where I think you said the search page had the same thing. So I'm just
Hmm.
putting in like a search URL just to trigger the search page, but now you can see the search page has definitely better. You can read it a lot
Hmm.
more. Nice.
Yeah. And what about if you zoom in and you hit that mobile nav? Let's see if, oh, but you're logged in. You'd have to be logged out to
Oh,
see if it fixed the in there. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just wondering like where it's even getting these colors from.
You know
Color is
what?
current color. Okay.
It's, partially, this is an interesting thing because we actually were looking at this in one of the Woo extensions recently. Part of why I think that's failing is because it's disabled. Because when you're logged in,
Mm,
you can't change the email address there. So I
yeah.
noticed where you were looking at the CSS a minute ago, it has like a disabled class on it. And in some instances, like disabled buttons are allowed to fail color contrast, but depending upon where they are used, it should not fail because it is definitely a problem. So in this instance, the input being disabled, you still need to be able to see what. So I bet you there's like an opacity because a lot of times that's what's done. You could search maybe for opacity. If you go back to the styles tab, do you know how to search?
Yeah.
Right there. So if you turn that off, okay, well, the placeholder text is still not great, but yeah,
So it is
some,
their disabled where they give it the current color, which is, I guess, kind of weird. Okay.
hmm.
I think
Yeah, I don't
also
know
the
what
other,
current color even means.
it's supposed to just take the color from like the next element or something, but it's it's just also a weird thing. I think I've seen this a lot in Woo where uh it just doesn't handle dark themes really well. It kind of always just
Mm.
assumes you're gonna have a white background. And I think if I did, maybe, we'd have this would be a dark
That
text
text would have
instead
been
of a
black text. Yeah.
yeah.
Daniel says current color should take the color of the parent element.
Yeah.
So if you went up to like paragraph, so that's probably why it's so light because your paragraph color by default is like an off-white or a white color, right?
Yeah, so that one actually would be pretty easy. So I can jump to design the header, which is where that form comes from, and give it a second to load. Um, I can open up my header. I can open up, it's basically like a little template part that you get to design. So this is part of Ollie as well, but this functionality is going to come to Core, I think, in the next version, where you can have a completely different mobile navigation. So while this is all Ollie Pro stuff now, this sort of functionality is going to exist. So you hit edit template and it opens up your mobile template right here. And with Ollie, it's kind of nice. He gives you a bunch of designs and stuff that you can do. But I stuck in this Jetpack form, which you can see looks completely different on the back end. But since it's inside of a group, I can set the text color to a dark color and hit save. And then hopefully current color should pull from that. Yeah, there we go. So because
Mm, yeah.
the parent group, I just set a color there, current color is going to pull from that.
So do you want to see if you can inspect the contrast? So if you click on
Mm,
the top right where you see your CSS, you can click on the square, the black square that's like the preview color, and then expand the contrast ratio and then pick a background color with the color picker. So this passes for double A, but not triple A, which is maybe fine in this scenario because you're the only one who sees it. Because nobody logged out. But, potentially you might want to change the opacity a little bit and then it would
yeah.
be able to pass for. Like if you made the opacity 0.3 instead of, or no, zero point 0.7, I bet, instead of 0.5,
Oops.
then it might
Yeah, so it's like
pass.
a little bit darker. But then I actually need to make sure that I test this on the logged out view because that is the one that everyone's going to see. But yeah, the zero
Hmm.
point 0.7 seems to work.
Yeah. It definitely gets more complex when you're serving different styles or different experiences to both logged in and logged out users.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the fact that it does this. Like I don't know.
Well, it's not editable at all. And in a minute, I'll show you something about it that I think is interesting.
So
If you are you able to show, do you have like a incognito? I don't know how you're sharing, but did
oops.
the focus indicator also fix the focus indicator on this field for logged out people?
Yeah, let me sh open a new incognito window and I'll share that. Okay.
So, yep.
I just need to fix this thing too.
Oh, yep. That one also has a hover that fails.
Well, what's nice
It's
is we already
interesting. I
have,
don't think that one fails for you when you're logged in, though.
I think, no, it's the same thing. Oh, wait, you can't see it, but I checked and it's the same.
So you are now in the incognito window getting the class for that button.
Yeah, so I, I can do it. Oh, yeah. So the downside here is there's not really a good specific class on it. Like WP block button underscore link is just not, I don't know. I don't know if I change it, what is that going to change, you know? So I want to get like a more specific version of it, I think. So let me,
Are there are there other buttons with hover styles that you've used, like the button block elsewhere?
yeah,
Beyond for submits, like the link button.
let me go back to the non-incognito since we know we have it here. So I have this button. Where else do I have buttons? Let's see. I think on the home page.
And those ones, they just get the underline when you hover. They don't actually get a color change at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you might just want to check and see if those classes are the same if you're trying not to override those.
Yeah. Let me see.
Mike asks, are
Because
those links or are they buttons? Uh,
so WP block button link is a core WordPress class. And the way it works is when you put a button, like when you put just a normal button in WordPress on a page, like this is just a normal button, you get a div with WP block button. And then inside you can have either an anchor with WP block button link as the class, or you can actually tell it that you want a button like semantic element. So it'll by default do a link, but in WordPress, you can actually say, no, I want it to be an actual button element. But those are both like
is
core
that
classes.
that's not in the editor though, right? I think
Yeah.
that's only if you do. Is it now? I thought I have a GitHub issue for this and I didn't think it got closed for Gutenberg. I might be really excited now. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, I think it's in core as of the last version. So
Mm,
like
6.9.
this, oh,
I
that's a
have so many
6.9.
GitHub issues, I can't track them
Yeah,
all.
and they don't all get like
Notified. Yeah.
yeah. So like if I let me just open my home page so we can just see an example. So some of this is Ollie. He gives you like icons and things like that. But I think under the advanced tab now, you can change it from an
HTML
button to a
element
button.
from
Yeah.
an A tag to a button. That makes me so happy. That was my GitHub issue.
Yeah. They probably just didn't close. Somebody else probably opened an issue and then they closed that one. And yeah. So
Uh,
you should find it and close
I
it.
should. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
that issue that I've had open has been open for like almost 2 years, probably.
yeah, that one's been a It's been a hot topic. Um, okay, so
Uh, Wait, I want to say one thing, just to note for people. The reason why that's important is like pop plugins that allow you to create pop-ups on a button click. A lot of people were using the WordPress quote button block to create them, and then it creates a link, which isn't actually the correct semantic if you want to open something.
yeah.
So that's why that change was needed. So you can use that block now to trigger pop-ups.
Yeah, which is nice because then you're not making a button from scratch. Because like the button block comes with a bunch of settings and stuff. You're like, I don't have to make this from scratch every time I make a custom block. So it is pretty handy.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess one thing I am curious about, so I can go to my styles tab and I can go and see what my defaults for a button is, and I can
This
just
is in
kind
the
of,
site editor, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
And I guess I have this background, so I don't know where it's getting that from then. I don't know where it's getting the white hovering to black because that's not like a
So
style.
but I think this is an issue with WordPress core, which is that if you were back where you were, where you could see your default styles for buttons, I don't
Hmm.
think WordPress core doesn't allow you to define what your hover styles are.
Yeah, that's true.
And so the problem here on those is that it's just like picking something from CSS somewhere that's maybe in the theme or something.
Yeah. So let's open it up and just see if we can.
Figure out where that black background is coming from.
Oops. So we have the white, and then if I apply a hover to it,
That's where the black background's coming from. And where file is that?
that's just coming from the
Inline
block
CSS.
editor. Yeah, I think that's just inline CSS from the block editor.
That's interesting. It's a mystery color.
Yeah, that happens a lot with the block editor, where you just go, I don't know where this is coming from.
So then is your solution you just override it in the CSS file?
Yeah, so I'm
Or
going to
where you were
use,
showing where you can put the CSS in the full site editor?
yeah, so let's open up this CSS window. So we did it here with this WP block search button. I don't, so I can do this, but like I said, WP block button link is a very popular uh, element, and so I kind of want to scope it to just being inside of the this Jetpack search block because I think that would make it a little bit easier to because I do think everywhere that this happens, it does happen. So I think I'm going to scope it to just this Jetpack subscriptions block.
So you've gone further up and found the div that's the parent, and now you're going to copy the class from that.
Yeah. And with blocks, it's always like WP dash block dash the name of the block. So it's kind of easy to find what's the container element for it because they're always going to have that same thing. So I can put it in front here and it should work for this, but it shouldn't break anything else. So let's go because I think I had one here and then I think I have it in here. Okay, so that's looking better.
Cool. So, yeah. So then the last two UI color contrast issues were on the open and close button for the mobile nav.
Yes. Now, I don't know. Let's see. So let's go to again, I'll Command K and open up my header. I don't know if that's something that I have control over already. Oops. So I have the link here.
So, oh, this is an interesting thing. That icon that you showed there was actually a little different. And the way it is that you see here is every once in a while when I would hit your site, this is how I would see it with the white.
With the white
So I'm
lines.
wondering if like that's the core styles and then what is it's mostly outputting is actually coming from somewhere else on the Ollie being able
Let's,
to switch.
yeah, so here's the button. So this is just some CSS coming from core,
Hmm.
but
So
I think
maybe
I
it
can,
is there.
yeah.
Change it here.
So is the gray with the white, is that a good combo?
Uh, yeah, I think as long as you have high enough contrast, you don't, in this scenario, you don't necessarily have to have contrast on the button border, if that makes sense, between the
Yeah.
website background.
Okay.
Because a lot of times you see these without a border. So as long as because the icon is meaningful enough because it's used so broadly that people would interpret that as a button. So I think it's fine as long as the icon sufficiently contrasts against its background. If you wanted to take it a step further, then you would have the background contrast against the website background and the icon contrast against the button background, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But you don't need it. I mean, I could
But you
do
don't
like,
need it because there are plenty of websites that are designed where the icon has no background.
okay, which is honestly what I'd probably rather do is have no background. It's funny because I'm putting these
Instead of
settings
the,
in.
yeah, it's like a gray.
Like, are these even going to do anything?
They look like they're not changing anything.
Let's just see. Oh, oh, it did.
There you go. So now that should be sufficient contrast.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see it in the screen share, but there's like this black is not the same as this black. So there's like the tiniest
It's
bit of a
subtly
color.
different. And is that because you haven't maybe slightly, you haven't defined your global colors? Like you've got a few different variations here that look
Yeah.
kind of close and it's hard to tell. So maybe if you had a tighter color palette, like I see
Yeah.
three different greens that are only slightly different and three different like grays or four
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Which is honestly what I would. So in this case, I kind of threw this website together and I kind of got lost on the colors. And I think if I'd go back to it, I would actually plan out my color palette ahead of time. And I think that's like a good thing to do, which is plan out your color palette before you start building and don't get caught in these situations. Because I've had that issue with like client work where we don't do the work ahead of time. Or like we would get designs from other designers. We weren't in control of the designs a lot of time. We would just get designs, we'd have to build them. And then you'd get to this phase and you're like, oh, now this doesn't match with this doesn't match with this and stuff. So like if you can hammer out your color palette ahead of time, you save yourself a ton of work because nobody likes to be told, actually, we need to tweak this and actually we have to tweak this.
Yeah, I'll also say we have a pretty handy tool. I'll post a link here, like a contrast grid that allows you to put in your colors and it will tell you which combinations pass,
Mm,
which is really helpful. Man, time flies when we talk about this. I really want to show you some of the structural issues with the mobile menu and see what your thoughts are, especially now that I know that you're saying this is coming to WordPress core,
hmm.
because I'm thinking this needs to be figured out more broadly, not just for your website, if it is an issue specifically to Ollie or not. I'm not sure. So, can I share for a minute and show you
Yeah.
some of the things? All right, let me just rearrange my window. Uh, so what I've done is I'm actually zoomed in on the website right now. I'm zoomed just 175%. You actually have to test when you're accessibility testing up to 400% zoom, But I just zoomed enough to be able to get the mobile menu, and I can refresh here and we should be able to see your color contrast fix. So
Hmm.
now we can see that. I'm going to turn on voiceover because I'm on a Mac, and I'm just going to do that by hitting Function Command F5.
Voiceover on Chrome. Webmasters FM podcast for WordPress. Google Chrome.
I made it stop talking. I'm not going to talk over voiceover. uh, I'm just going to go through a few things and listen to it, and I might explain more at the end. But basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using my tab key to navigate through the website.
Okay.
Link. Skip to content. You are currently on a link. To click this link, open menu, dialog pop-up, button, primary, navigation. You are currently on a
Okay,
button. To display a list.
so this is good. It told me it was a button. It told me it's part of the primary navigation. It told me it's going to open a dialog. So that's great. I'm going to use the spacebar to trigger a button. Buttons should be triggered by spacebars, and they can also be triggered by the return key, but I always use spacebar to check because if people have made a link into a fake button by adding role equals button, and you want to make sure that they remembered to add the JavaScript. We know this is an actual button, but I'm trying to explain for testing purposes. So
Menu, dialog, link, episodes. You are currently on a link inside of a dialog. To click.
okay. So this was helpful in that it shifted my focus in, so this is good. It told me I was on a link and I was inside a dialogue. It didn't name the dialogue. So
Okay.
that is like, oh, maybe it needs like an ARIA label or something. I'm just going to tab through.
Link. Open in podcast app. Link. About. Visited. Link. Contact. You are currently on a link inside of a dialog. To click this.
So the thing I noticed is there isn't a list here. Um, the normal nav has a list. This doesn't have a list.
Type your email. Required menu pop-up. Edit text email. Subscribe. Button. You are currently on link. Image. YouTube. Main. You are currently on a link. To click this link. YouTube. Link. Image. Podcast links. You are.
So what I noticed here is that it's not like I'm now, you can still see the menu, but I'm behind the menu.
Yeah.
So when you have something like this, it needs to function where it covers the entire screen. And it told me it's a pop-up, it's a dialogue. It needs to function as a modal dialogue,
Hmm.
whereas it should lock keyboard and I should be able to tab cyclically through the elements.
Yeah.
And the other thing I've noticed is if I hit escape key, it doesn't do anything to close the menu because I'm no longer in the menu, even though it's open. And then if I go backwards, so shift tab backwards.
Link. Type. Visited. Link. Contact. You are currently on a link inside of a dialog. To click this link, press.
Now I'm in it. And now if I hit escape,
Open menu. Dialog pop-up. Button. Primary. Navigation. You are currently on a button. To display.
it does what it's supposed to do. It closed it and it took me back to the trigger button. So that was good. So the biggest issue that I see here was that it couldn't go
Group.
like it allowed me to leave the menu
Yeah.
without closing it, and then I had no way to close it unless I figured out how to get back into it. And then I'll show one
From
other
Amy
thing
L
that
to everyone. Using keyboard,
hear the
you're
chat.
supposed to be trapped in a dialogue until you
Webmasters FM
actively
podcast
dismiss
for
it or
WordPress.
use a
Brave.
tool
Window.
within that takes you somewhere else. From Amy L to everyone. LOL.
All right. All right. I forgot to tell you guys. I didn't turn my
Zoom
chat
us.
notifications
Zoom
off.
webinar.
So we'll
Window. Type message here. Group. You are currently on a link inside of a dialog. To
All
click
right.
this link, press Control Option.
All right. I pulled over the one where I'm logged in only because I want to show one other thing that I think is a little odd about this Jetpack thing. And we're probably not going to fix it today, but it might be worth reporting to them. But if I tab here,
Link. Open in podcast app. Visited. Link. About. Link. Contact. You subscribe. Button. You are currently on a button inside of a dialog.
so because we were looking at before that input field is disabled and I can't change my email address in it, it
Yeah.
doesn't even take me to it. And I have no context that this subscribe button is going to submit my email address. I actually don't think this input should be disabled. I think
Yeah.
people, maybe it should pre-fill with what your logged in email address is. But what if my logged in email address was like my general company email? Like
Yeah.
hello@equalizedigital.com. But I'm like, but I want to subscribe myself. Like there might be situations like that. And so I question whether this input should be disabled at all. But if it is, I feel like the subscribe button, when it receives focus, needs to say what email address is going to be subscribed. So I don't know. I'm going to stop
Okay.
sharing.
Zoom us.
Okay.
Um, I feel like what I'm most interested in here is a couple things, which is, are you able to make it actually function as a modal? And I could tell you some of the semantics. Now, the tab focus lock might require JavaScript, and maybe we can't do that on the fly here.
Mhm.
I don't know how good you are at that. Um, I also wonder about those things not being in a list. Could they be in a list? I did notice in Accessibility Checker, they all get flagged as possible headings. Those could be
Okay.
ignored, but at the same time, it's because they're big and they're in paragraph tags. And normally you expect navigation to be grouped together because then when you enter it, you get this context of, I've opened the menu, there's 4 things I could go to, or there's 25, 5 top level
Yeah.
things with all these sub items in a complex navigation. So list structure is really helpful.
Yeah, we can fix that. I think what I would do personally is I think that it's a pattern that was probably included in the Ollie theme because it looks nice with like the big lines in between everything, but it's probably just made with like group blocks and divs and lines and things. But like there's not there are some blocks out there that do things like there's one like Aruba has one called Super List where it lets you make a semantic list, but like you could put any blocks inside of it, and that's super helpful to get that kind of design. But for me, I don't care about the design that much. I would rather just use an actual navigation menu element and stick that in there, and then just have a good navigation menu. And so I'd rather just fix it that way
Well,
and
the
lose
other
the
thing
design.
I'll say about it, I only navigated with tab keys, but some users, that's probably the way most people would navigate in a navigation menu.
Hmm.
But if they're not sure, they might have it actually read. And a lot of things people don't realize is that an HR block, like that horizontal rule, actually will announce as a separator to a screen reader, like it's meaningful. It's
Hmm.
not an empty thing. And so it'd be better to add lines like that, not with a separator block or an HR. If it is a core separator, there's a way to define it and tell it to just make it a div and not an HR. But
Mm.
it would be better to do stuff like that with like a border bottom
Yeah.
with CSS because it's decorative, it's not meaningful.
Did it read them? I didn't notice if it read them out or if it just,
It doesn't read them if you just tab because when you tab, it skips
oh
non-interactive
yeah,
elements. But if I
that's right.
had read the entire contents of that modal, then it would have.
Oh yeah, because yeah, I do see it as a separator.
So you can fix that. Yeah. If you
Oh,
change the
interesting.
HTML element from the default HR to a div, then it would make it just decorative and not meaningful to a screen reader.
Yeah, like for me, because it's just linked paragraphs, I would rather just replace all of this with a menu. Like I don't really care about the lines personally. It's not that important to me. And in fact,
That's
is
what I would
this the
recommend doing.
thing? The only difference from this to this, oh, I guess the subscribe is different. Um,
The other thing I noticed in this menu, which isn't, it comes up, accessibility checker flags this, your episodes link there. I don't
yeah,
know if you want to show what the link is. Yeah, right there. It's just a hashtag. This is, it's
what
interesting
is
because
it here?
accessibility checker finds that.
Yeah,
Um,
is
and it
this?
says, hey, this is not like a good link. That link, because it's just a hashtag, it on most pages of your website, it's non-functional because
Yeah,
that section doesn't actually exist anywhere. But it's weird
it's
because it gets flagged by an accessibility tool. It's not actually just an accessibility issue, like it's actually just an issue for everybody.
it's just a bug on my website that I didn't fill out this link properly. Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, I would always err
Okay.
on the side of if you can use the same navigation that you're using somewhere else and like maybe even display none some elements. I know
Oh yeah.
on classic themes, something that we do a lot is we'll have uh in the menu editor, you could apply classes to things and you could be like, is mobile or is desktop? And then it will
Hmm.
show or hide the entire item based on that. But I don't know if you can do that in the navigation block.
So what I can do is, so
Oh, I know how
on
you could do that. Nick
what?
Diego's block visibility plugin.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I have that installed, so I can definitely do that.
You you might be
So
able to hide the subscription link with that.
yeah, the only thing missing is contact, which I don't know why I have it. I don't have it here, but I have it there. There's not a lot of logic to
I
this
didn't even
website.
notice that. So, oh, this is also an interesting thing, which is that would be considered a WCAG failure, loss of content on Zoom. So,
Because
if
okay.
it's in your desktop navigation, it also has to be in your mobile navigation because low vision users might zoom in, and that would mean a low vision user wouldn't know how. Well, actually, in this instance, it's the opposite. A low vision user could contact you, but a regular vision user couldn't. But yeah.
So so let me see if I just delete this and I add a navigation block. I can pick my primary menu, so it's all the same elements, but I can design it differently to like go down and then I don't need a mobile at all, right? Because I am already in mobile. The thing that I don't know will happen is I'm technically inside of the same menu, so I'm hoping that doesn't break anything. But
I don't
other
know.
than other than that, I think I just need to match the
It might
design a
have
little bit.
a nested tag. That'll be interesting to see.
So I need to add my contact page because that should be on both of them. And then this subscribe button, I would just add a visibility setting and just say based on screen size, hide on desktop and tablet, probably. No, hide on tablet and mobile.
Is this that won't sync to your other? Yeah.
No, it shouldn't. I don't know.
Okay.
Let me just refresh the page and see. Oh yeah, it would that will sync. So what if I got rid of this subscribe form and I just had the same button on each? Is that bad? Would
And that's like a link that goes to a subscribe page.
I think it triggers a pop-up. So it would be a pop-up and a pop-up.
Yeah, I guess you'd want to test what that user experience is like. Um, so I err on the side of you should only have navigation elements in your navigation. So I love the idea of getting rid of a form in your navigation,
Okay.
right? Um, there might be people who disagree with me, right? And that's why mega menus exist.
Well, yeah,
But
because when you were saying that it's not the same, that you want the same experience for both, it's like, I don't know. I know a lot of websites that
it
don't do that. And it's just,
it doesn't have to be the exact same experience. It's just you have to have the same items, I guess, if that makes sense.
okay.
Now, this instance where the contact actually existed on Zoom but not on desktop is one of those weird scenarios where that wouldn't technically be there's no addition of content on Zoom failure, right? Like it's not technically a failure. It would only be a failure if you had something on desktop that didn't exist on
Hmm.
mobile or for zoomed in users.
Okay. So I'm just gonna hide this block for now. That just hides it and it's just not going to be visible on the front end. And let me just open the front end of the site. Oh, wait, that's probably made it a little weird. Let me do it this way. Okay. So now this is an actual menu.
Hmm. Do you still have that? Did you install the landmark navigation browser extension last time?
Yes.
Or the headings map one, either one of those? I'd
Yeah.
just be curious to see if it's showing like nested navigation landmarks for people if you have that browser extension.
Oh, wait. Did I pause my screen share?
Maybe. I don't see anything changing on it.
Oh, okay.
There
Yeah.
we go.
Whoops. So now it's inside of itself. Like, is that?
It seems a little odd.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I don't think you should have a navigation tag nested in a navigation, but I'm not certain if that change, I don't know without looking if you're able to change it on the mobile uh version to not be semantic and if that won't if that'll sync or not sync. You might have to create a separate menu. But then, like, the downside of having two menus in like using a plugin like this
Yeah.
is that every time you update one, you have to remember to update the other one.
Yeah.
And I think this is a real issue that's going to have to be considered if this is being pulled into WordPress core.
And I think this is why a lot of things people expect to happen quickly is like once I think with something like Ollie, I think Mike can ship a little faster and stuff, but with Core, they're not going to ship this if they find an issue like this usually. Like they're pretty good about like if they see something like this that's weird and it isn't really the right way to do something, they probably won't. So I'm curious to see where it ends
Are
up
you, yeah, are you able to change it just in the mobile view and see if it doesn't sync? So instead of using a navigation tag, can it be a div in the mobile?
for
Yeah, I'm not even sure if that's a setting that you can change. No. It's
no.
basically going to be like you've used a navigation, it is navigation.
So I could make like a list, right? Like I could just do a list of links
Mm-hmm.
and then I
And
could
then put your form back.
yeah. I could also just turn off this fancy mobile menu and just have a normal like a mobile menu too.
Well, oh, okay, so before we make that decision, I'm curious about the issue with it not being modal. Is that
Oh,
fixable? Because that might tell you, okay, maybe I should turn off this Ollie thing because it's way more code writing than I want to do to fix it. Like, is there a way to fix the container for this mobile menu?
no, I mean I think I could I mean I know Mike that makes the Ollie theme and Patrick and I'm if I came to them with like here's what you should fix to make it more accessible, I'm sure they would do it, but I would just need to explain it to them rather than like layer on something on top that might break, you know?
Okay. And there's no setting right now in Ollie for you to control. You know, like last time you were able to go set like banner landmarks and stuff.
Hmm.
Like, could you put, this is me trying to figure out like, how do you make it work in the editor? Um, is there any sort of like settings just for this mobile menu template part where you can define a landmark?
Well, I mean, the entire thing is if I go to like the parent most group, let's see, let me
Mm.
open. I can,
Can you set that to a dialogue? No.
no,
Do you have the attributes for blocks plugin installed?
say that again.
Do you have the attributes for block plugin? Have you
Mm-mm.
seen that plugin?
I don't think so.
That's a free plugin that is really handy that I like. I don't know if you would want to try it, but you could set this, well, it already is a div. So with that, then you'd be able to add any custom attributes. Oh, Paula shared a link for it in the chat. You could give it a role of dialogue and Do you see this screenshot right there? It kind of shows you can add any custom attributes that you want. So you
Oh,
could use
nice.
it to add the aria to define this as a dialogue and give it aria modal equals true. And that might
So
be an interesting test.
is it not so it's not even a dialogue at all?
I don't think so. Wait, oh, there we go. There is a dialogue. You're down. It's down a little bit. Go down two more. There. This is a dialogue. So that does have a role of dialogue, and that does have aria modal equals true. So I guess I would want to figure out why am I able to leave this. Um,
Yeah.
Also, it is missing a R. No, it says aria label menu. So it didn't sound quite right to me, and then I was able to leave it. So maybe this is just a bug that you file with them.
Okay. Yeah, because yeah, I can't leave it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you need some JavaScript to be like, don't allow the focus to go away.
Okay. Yeah, I can file an issue.
But yeah, I do think like this whole discussion of what do you do with what's inside it.
Yeah.
Uh, if the downside of switching away, and I'll say this, like the core navigation block doesn't have as nice of a mobile experience. It
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't have your logo inside it.
Yeah.
Um, but there are some difficulties with what's currently there. So this is where you kind of have to like start making decisions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I think that's like literally the reason I did it is I like when your logo's on a mobile menu. I don't know why.
Hmm.
I enjoy it, but I would be more than happy to just disable that functionality completely and also let them know, what the issue is.
Hmm. Uh, do you want to disable it for now?
Yeah, let's do it. It's actually pretty easy. Let me reload this since I was messing around with all those. So, so now we have the contact link in here. So this is this is Ollie's version, but like I said, I think a lot of this is going to end up in core. It won't be as many features, like he lets you change what breakpoint and that sort of stuff. But I think I can just turn that off. I think. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's the
Ooh.
other thing. Now there's no.
Yeah, now there's like a contrast oddity.
Oops. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Let's see. Mobile menu. Oh yeah. Oh, so I don't know why it's set to. There we go. Set it to that color. So that
So a
should
lighter
change the
color.
submenu and overlay text. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine with me.
There we go.
This one keeps you in, right? Yep, that one keeps you in.
And you can't tab out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, especially on sites for remediation that don't have really big budgets for like a lot of custom code or that can't wait on, oh, well, we're going to go back to the plugin developer and ask them, like, we'll do stuff like this. We'll just be like, well, let's undo it and go back to the default core
Yeah.
layout. Maybe it's not quite as fancy. It doesn't support you having a subscribe form in it or the logo in it, but it fixes the accessibility, which if this is the priority during a remediation, then sometimes that is a choice that you make. Because I'm sure you writing a bunch of custom JavaScript would have been way longer than what it took you to undo that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, at the end of the day, I think about like what's the value of having these things that are like nice to haves versus just having something functional for all users.
Hmm. Yeah. So I'm curious, are you able to trigger that Jetpack subscribe? I have a hard time
Yeah.
knowing like what triggers it or gets it to show
Yes.
up. So
Let
we
me
could look
switch.
at it.
I'm gonna put in my incognito window so you can get like the real experience of it.
Okay.
Um, so this is the Jetpack subscribe form. So if I open just like an episode and I scroll to a certain position, I'll get this pop-up form.
Hmm. Hit tab now that it's opened without clicking on it with your mouse.
Yeah, it's still in the page.
Okay. Yeah, so I noticed this. This is also on WP Tavern, and I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
we should report this. And I'm guessing this is the same scenario. Can you open it again and we could inspect it? Because
Yeah,
maybe
let's
since you work at Automatic, you have a hookup and you could report some issues to them with this rather than you having to try and fix it on your own website, only for you,
yes. Now I'm wondering if it's gonna show it again now that I've
if it's
seen it.
cookied.
Yeah, let me stop sharing real quick and make a new incognito window and share that. Yeah, I will definitely. Well, so the nice thing about WordPress is everything's open source pretty much. So like Jetpack is open source. There's a public GitHub repo and you can just file an issue and stuff. But yeah, since they're technically my coworkers, I can, after I file the issue, I can message them in Slack and be like, hey, we found this accessibility issue. Can you prioritize it? And usually accessibility gets prioritized pretty much. So yeah, it's not so you want to see what kind of an element it is?
Yeah, so it's just a div, and this one doesn't even have a role. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
S- So here's what I would like to see when there's a pop-up like this on a website. Everybody's always like, can you even have pop-ups? And the answer is you can. Uh, for really good examples, and it might be worth them looking at it, I actually think the free pop-up maker plugin does a really good job at accessibility.
Okay.
But when the pop-up opens, it should get focus, so you're in it. And then it should be a dialogue element. It needs to be named. Uh, and they could use like aria labeled by maybe referencing the heading that's in the dialogue already to name it.
Hmm.
So the name of it would be discover more from webmasters.fm. It should have aria modal equals true, meaning you can't leave it without closing it, which is what the keyboard user experience, or sorry, the mouse user experience is.
Hmm.
And then I also think in this instance, you'd want to make sure if you type in that field that the label stays
Hmm.
visible, just in case, because I bet that's placeholder text. I haven't checked it
Yeah.
yet to see if that's a labeled field, but in case it like auto fills weird, um, there is a label there. So that is the label. It's well, there's a screen reader label and then placeholder text, which is kind of repetitive. I bet it would on a screen reader read both of them. It would read the label and it would read placeholder. So it would say type your email input.
Hmm.
So you wouldn't want to have both. Um, and then this is where this gets especially difficult, but if it's closed, can you return someone to where they were when it was triggered? I don't know if that's possible. Um,
Like because it was
like
triggered
if,
by scrolling and not by clicking an element.
but yeah, or if it has a pop-up delay of let's say 10 seconds and I was in the middle of reading something or having my screen reader read me something, and then this pops up, it gets my focus. I either submit it or I don't. Like, let's say I hit continue reading. Is it going to take me to the top of the page and then I have to go back and find where I was? Or can it know where I was and return me where I was so I don't lose that, right?
Yeah. How do you test that?
I would turn on well, I guess I would first try and figure out how if yours is just scroll triggered, that's
Hmm.
another question too. If it is only scroll triggered, if you didn't scroll and you were just using like arrow keys, would it still pop up? If you didn't have a mouse? Um, because you'd
Hmm.
want to ask keyboard users to subscribe to. But I would turn on a screen reader and I would be listening to the page, and then when it opens and it gets focused, then when I hit continue reading, I'd go back. I'd want to know that it put me back where I was.
Okay.
I
What?
suspect it might put you back at the bottom of the page because that's where it actually is when it opens. Like when it does open, if you want to reach it as a keyboard user right now, you have to tab through every element and get
Yeah.
to the bottom of the page, and then you can reach that pop-up. Although, well, now it's up.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks like it's at the top.
No, it's because
Or
everything's in
no.
this
Oh,
WP site
everything's in
blocks.
that site blocks div. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's at the bottom, below everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mike Packer says a pop-up being triggered by scrolling should be evaluated against WCAG 3.2.2 on input. So that's saying are there unexpected changes when you're doing some sort of input? I don't know if scroll trigger counts as an input, but maybe it does. So but I would say like that for me because it's on every episode, and that is probably for your website's goal. That is one of the most important things you have on the website for achieving the website goal. I'm
Hmm.
assuming you want subscribers. Then I would consider that high priority because it's global and it's really connected to the website goal to try and fix it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I would be happy to not even use the pop-up because it's probably like a secondary goal. Like I'd rather people subscribe in a podcast app or something. This one just like sends an
Mm.
email
Yeah, or
when a
on
new episode
YouTube.
comes out. And it's not a high priority, but for a lot of people that are using this like Jetpack for newsletter subscribers, it is kind of a high priority goal. So it'd be nice to give them like some best practices to fix it anyway, because beyond my website, it's being used on a lot of other websites. Um, so yeah, it would be
Yeah, let
worth
me.
giving them the feedback either way,
So
even if
I
I just
always
turn it
really
off.
like um I like to use the Mozilla developer docs a bunch when I create GitHub issues for people.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming, I don't know if you've spent time looking at those, but there's a ton related to
Yeah.
ARIA expectations and like all of that kind of stuff. So I just put one in for like ARIA modal, and I think they're gonna have one for like dialogue elements. And it would be better to use a native dialogue element, but if they can't, then that's where like on the other one we saw the role of dialogue, but when you add the role, it doesn't necessarily add all of the native functionality,
Yeah.
which was maybe why the tabbing you were able to tab out of it. Um, so it would be probably less code work if they're able to change it to a dialogue element instead of a div.
Yeah. Instead of having to, because it's actually kind of a pain to write all that JavaScript of when this happens, remove focus here and make sure, it's like, it's kind of a pain. And it's nice that dialogue is like, I feel like that's relatively new, right? Like the dialogues being able to like cut out a lot of that manual work on pop-ups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know the history on the dialogue tag, how old it is, but well, I want to thank you again because we are about at time for being willing to come on and show your website and talk through
Yeah.
fixes with me and do stuff. I know it takes some bravery to be willing to be public with that. And so I very much appreciate it. And I learned some stuff, and I am definitely going to go try and find wherever they're talking about adding that nav stuff to core because I'll
Hmm.
want to follow that because
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see, if that's fixable or what the problems are. So
Yeah,
thank you.
definitely. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate you being very kind and pointing out all my mistakes on my website and even the ones that are just flat out bugs, or me forgetting to put, link destinations in my links, but I appreciate that.
Uh, so can you share where people can follow you if they want to learn more? Or obviously the podcast, but what are other places they can connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I am on my personal website, which is just my name, briancords.com, and that has links to everything. I do try to hang out in a lot of the like WordPress community Slacks, and we have a WooCommerce community Slack as well, where there's a lot of people that hang out there. And as far as for if you need anything WooCommerce, it's developer.woo.com, which is kind of our developer hub, and that's where I do a lot of publishing. And then otherwise, I'm still using X as my social network for hanging out with people because that just seems to be where all the WordPress people are. So yeah, any one of those places you can find me.
Awesome. Is there anything you mentioned WooCommerce, anything you can tease that's coming with accessibility or WooCommerce or anything that you're aware of in the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know firsthand that there's been a ton of changes to the front end accessibility of WooCommerce and making sure that if you use like a default block theme and a default store setup, then you should be able to get a pretty good accessible store out of the gate. Once you add in like extensions and things, it gets a little bit harder because that is kind of the Wild West when it comes to WooCommerce extensions. But yeah, I think I feel like we have a new landing page. It's like woocommerce.com/accessibility. And it goes over everything, not just like the accessibility of literally woocommerce.com, but the accessibility of the product. We're trying to get all of our main extensions like subscriptions and memberships and all that sort of stuff to like basically the goal is when you launch a store with like core WooCommerce stuff, is it going to be accessible? So woocommerce.com/accessibility, I think, is the landing page for all of that stuff. I should probably confirm. But
It is,
it's,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
And
where
so,
all the accessibility conformance reports and stuff are being published.
yeah.
So
And so obviously you probably know more than me about it since you've been super helpful in making sure that we're getting there. And then it's such a constant battle because even every day a new feature ships. And so we're trying to build it into our testing pipeline and stuff too. So there's a lot of stuff coming for that as well.
yeah. I was a little bit buying time because I was rescanning your website with accessibility tracker, but I thought real quick before we sign off, I'd show we had I think when we started out like a whole bunch of those possible headings and just like weird things that were being flagged in the nav menu, and now it's down to 10, which is kind of cool. So
Nice.
I always like, and we fixed a bunch of things that an automated tool can't even find. But
Yeah.
I always want to emphasize that because it was an hour and a half and you did not prep at all,
Yeah.
right? Not say that in a bad way, but I'm saying it's not like we spent 4 hours planning for this and then you had to go and fix it. Like you spent an hour and a half and you fixed a lot of things. And so I like to emphasize that, like, even if you only have an hour here and there, you can still fix a lot on a website. It doesn't have to be this huge investment. So
Yeah.
just get started.
Yeah. Just chip away at it, you know?
Yep. Well, thank you again. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And we'll see you back here in 2 weeks for our first Tuesday meetup on the 17th. Bye.